Welcome to the first episode of Building SHÉKON for 2025. Welcome back, folks. Nice to see you here again. Hope you all had a very Merry Christmas and an extra Happy New Year. We're looking forward to a more productive 2025. We got a lot done in 2024, but we're hoping to get more done this year. So it would be nice to see you stick around and help us see this project through till the end. As you can notice, I'm inside. It's colder than you know what outside, so I'm just trying to stay warm. So let's get this episode on the road. This footage was taken about a month ago, and I mixed up my cameras, and the one I used didn't record any audio, so I've got a little sound effects track going, as well as these in-video voiceovers, if you want to call them that. But anyways, we're making some special handrails. These are going to be mounted on the aft bulkhead facing into the cockpit, and they'll allow a really nice, secure handhold to get on and off the boat, which is important for us older folks because, we're not as spry as we used to be. Well, some of us aren't. I'm spry. Maybe you're not, I don't know. But, anyways, these are made out of the same white oak that I made the other handrails out of, and it's the same process. And so you've seen it before, but these are a little different, a little special, and we're actually going to put a finish on these at the end. So you're going to want to stick around to see that. I'm not going to speed up any of the portions of this video this week. Our little YouTube channel is doing really well, except for watch time hours. So this one's going to be extra long, and it's not going to be sped up. And I hope that you'll stick with this and watch as much as you can, so we can kind of boost up those watch time hours. This white oak is pretty hard stuff, and I'm pushing my little home gamer DeWalt tools pretty much to the limit to get through this stuff. I don't suspect that these tools will last beyond this project, but if they do, that's all well and good. But I've already burnt up one drill, and I had another DeWalt tool grow legs and walk away. So when you're building your boat, you sort of have to figure in the life expectancy of some of these lower grade home gamer tools aren't quite going to make it through to the end and be of any worth after the project is done. Not quite sure what sound effect track is in the background on this scene, but I think it's my table saw, and it's working awful hard. It's a good table saw. Again, it's a DeWalt, it's a home gamer, and I had to retire my old Mastercraft table saw. It just wasn't making a grade anymore, and it's gone on to a second life, cutting up firewood. A buddy of mine bought it off me. So, anyways, we'll carry on here. Please stick with us. If anyone knows a better method of getting the plugs out of your hole saws, let me know. If you're only cutting one hole, it's not a big deal, but when you've got a couple of dozen of them to do, it gets to be a pain in the butt. One of the hardest parts of this whole project is cutting out the inner part of the hand grab, and the only tool I had that could do this is the jigsaw, and it's kind of brutish, but it gets the job done. But what I had to do was fixture the piece down to the workbench, so a couple of pieces of plywood and some long screws, and held it in place. And you'll see a little later on I added batten to guide the jigsaw, and that worked pretty well. And once that's done, we'll clean it up with the oscillating sander, which is kind of the next step in the whole process. Just laying out the lines that I have to cut along to cut out the finger holes for the grab rails, and I used the large tongue depressor method that I used on the previous handrails, and it works pretty good. The spacing's consistent, and when you get the holes drilled correctly and the lines straight, it all works out pretty good. I don't have a lot of experience as a woodworker, especially doing things like this. Working with hardwoods, which is a bit more challenging, and trying to be consistent when you're trying to make multiple parts that look at least a little bit similar. So I've taken my time and sort of worked out the method on the first handrails that I've seen make, which has subsequently been cut up and made shorter. But yeah, it's I can appreciate people that do this for a living and how consistent they can be. And if you watch some of these guys on YouTube that you do fine furniture, joinery, and stuff like that, you really gain an appreciation for the skills that these people actually have. Part of the knowledge gap or the experience gap, whatever you want to call it, when you're working with hardwoods and trying to produce parts like this, is which blade works best for which task. And I don't have that experience or knowledge to fall back on, so I do it trial and error method, and eventually I found a blade that worked and cut through this white oak, not like butter, but took some effort, but I managed to get through it without doing too much damage to the part or myself. I found working in the colder weather, the batteries for the cordless tools don't seem to last quite as long, and I have to change them out quite often. Now, I don't charge them in the tent where it's colder. I'll charge them in the house and bring them out. That seems to help a little bit, but even still, when they sit in the cabinet overnight and the batteries get cold, their service life seems to drop quite dramatically. If I remember correctly, this footage was produced about a month ago, and the seasons had changed. Winter's here, and if I remember correctly, the outside temperature was around freezing, around 32 Fahrenheit. And I've added a diesel heater to the tent this year to try and extend my ability to work longer and get some of these smaller projects done. And that's worked really well, and it can raise the interior temperature of the tent quite substantially to the point where I can take off my winter jacket and be comfortable working away. That changes a little bit when the wind is blowing hard because that cools things off really fast. But yeah, so far I'm pretty impressed with the little diesel heater. Cutting along a drawn line on a piece of wood freehand is one thing, and I know I'm not very good at it. I've got issues with my hands from years of pounding away on keyboards, etc. And so what I've done is I have added a batten to this part to be able to guide the jigsaw to try and get the cuts as straight as I can. I mean, I can always clean them up with the oscillating sander, and you'll see that later, but a batten certainly is another tool, probably highly underrated, and I use it quite a bit. I'm making two of these grab rails, one for the port side, one for the starboard side, of course. And I think from start to finish, each one took me about 2 hours, which included the layout, the drilling of the holes, cutting of the hand grabs, etc., and up to and including some machine sanding and some hand sanding, and then applying the finish. So it really wasn't that bad of a project. I think it's going to look okay. You have seen me use my oscillating sander quite a bit. It's a pretty versatile tool. I really like it. It does a good job. It's quick and easy to change over from the sanding belt attachment to the sanding spindles, and I think I have 4 different size spindles that will go on this machine. And that was a great yard sale find for $75. I think they sell for somewhere around $300 US brand new. But if you're going to do this kind of work, it's certainly a nice tool to have in your back pocket. belt sander attachment for the oscillating sander is very efficient, and it can remove a tremendous amount of material in a short period of time, even a hardwood like white oak. And you have to be careful; it'll bite, and it's been known to rip off one of my knuckles or fingernails from time to time. So some care and attention is required, and make sure you're not daydreaming when you're using it. Next up is another versatile tool to have in your workshop, and that's a decent router table. This is my most recent tool acquisition, and I'm glad I did it, especially for making these kind of parts. My old Mastercraft router table was made out of chipboard, and over the years, I guess moisture has got in, and the chipboard is swelled up, and things don't fit right, and etc. etc. But this new one is a Bosch, and it's a very popular one. I researched it, and it was in my price range, so I bought it. It's a great tool for shaping wood and stuff like that. It's almost essential. I find it very, very handy and use it a lot. One of the things I've learned as I've attempted these projects is the machines don't get you all the way there. They get you maybe 90% of the way, and as you'll see a little further on, there's going to be some hand sanding involved to refine the profiles and the surfaces and the curves and the easements on all of these parts, and that's okay. But it is what it is, and the hand sanding part really wasn't that bad, and you'll see me go through that as we move along down the road here. Well, this is the part you've all been waiting for. Some good old RO sanding. Again, we're starting to prep these handles for a finish, and we'll reveal what that finish is going to be a little later on. But yeah, I know all you sanding fanatics out there are going to love this part. So using an air sander in freezing temperatures doesn't really seem to work that well. Uh, my large air compressor, I think, is frozen up and has developed a few leaks, so I'm going to have to address that issue in the spring. So as I move forward, I had to switch over to my dual corded electric 5-inch sander, and that's a great tool as well, and it's going to come in very useful as we work through some more of these smaller projects over the winter. Sometimes there just isn't a tool for a particular job, or you don't own one. They probably exist. My buddy Ross had one that probably would have worked when he was polishing his stainless steel on his catamaran, but I don't have one. So what I've done is I've cut down some strips of 80 grit and 120 grit sandpaper, two widths, 1 inch and ½ inch, and I've used that to clean up the burn marks on the wood from the tooling on the router table, etc. And this worked pretty well. I mean, the sandpaper is aggressive and it gets you down to a decent finish. I'm not worried about having a super gloss, super slick finish on these things. They're grab rails, for Christ's sake, and anything that will promote grip is a good thing. I really didn't find this hand sanding to be onerous or tedious or anything like that. You sort of, when you get into it, you enter a Zen mode, and you just push through and you get the job done. And it really didn't take that long, probably about 20 minutes for each of the grab rails to go around all of the surfaces and ease off the edges and clean up the burn marks and get them down to a surface that will take a stain and take a finish and look pretty good. You'll see that later. I'm using a Minwax product here, because I'm using a Minwax stain, and this is a preconditioner. I don't know all that it does, but apparently it makes the small little tiny fibers that have been ripped up by the sandpaper lay down, and basically prepares the wood to be ready for stain. It takes a while to dry, but that's when you go for a coffee and talk to the wife. the 2 minutes a day that you have to talk to her. I think she appreciates it. But anyways, yeah, it's just brush it on, wipe off the excess, let it dry, and then it's ready for stain. You can hear the rain in the background pounding on the tent, and we've had quite a bit of rain and really weird weather this year. But anyways, I'm hoping the winter is mild so I can spend more time out here knocking off a few of these little jobs. And I don't know what effect that the higher humidity will have on staining and finishing wood like this, but I guess we'll find out eventually. But I was having problems earlier in the year with our little tent leaking. It's only 2 years old. I think it's been up, and the plastic is worn through on where some of the pipes are on the shelter itself. So I've put a tarp over top of it, and it's completely dry except when it really rains hard, the water comes up through the floor. So once the conditioner is dried, the next step in the process is just to give it a light sanding, and then we'll wipe it down with a tack rag, and it's ready for stain. Settle down, Junior. You're supposed to be a YouTube star. So some people have different methods of applying stain to wood. Um, I've seen people use brushes, paper towels, um, socks. The orphan socks that you find one of in your drawer. That's because the dryer ate the other one. They seem to work fine. I've used that. But today, all I've got on hand is some blue shop tools and shop towels. Sorry, and they work pretty good just as well. The stain that we're using here is a min wax. It's a dark black cherry, I believe it's called, and we had this for one of our earlier projects to try out. I got it off the clearance shelf because the lid was dented a bit, and it was like $10 for a liter of the stain, so I grabbed it. And I was trying to think of a color for the hand and grab rails that would contrast with the what will be oyster white on the cabin sides, and I think this, because cherry is sort of the theme of the interior of the boat, that this is going to work pretty good. The noise you hear in the background is our Vivor diesel heater, and I think on this day it was about 5 or 6 degrees Celsius outside, and it was a very comfortable 17 or 18 inside, so it was a good day to do stain. The final finish that goes on these grab rails will be Varathane. It's exterior rated, it's UV protectants, it's rated for outdoor decks and floors, and it's probably the best product that I could find at the time that was available locally, and I think it's going to be alright, and we'll see the application of that somewhere down the road. So from Lori and I, and Junior, we'd like to thank you all for sticking with us this long. I know it was a long one, but it was for a purpose, and we hope you've made it all the way to the end. We'd like to thank all of our new subscribers, and there's been a lot of them over the last year, and we're going to sum that up in a 2024 recap video that I'm working on, and that's taken quite a bit of time because we've got a lot done this past year, and we're looking for an equally or more productive 2025. So on behalf of Lori and I and the Furballs and the Furball Farm, thank you very much. Cheers, everyone.